All right. Yeah, welcome to the session again, and thank you for joining. And first of all, congratulations to all of you who've made it to the full proposal stage. There are over 110 applicants in the previous stage, and we select only 50 something of the application. So you are among the 52 applications that passed the previous vetting and technical assessment, and congratulations again. So in this Q&A session, what we're going to do, we'll walk you through the next step, like what you see in the full proposal, if you want to submit the grant, what you need to do. You may have already seen the grant template. We'll walk you through that as well. And some of you have already submitted the question through email. We will answer that within this webinar as well. And of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to send it in the chat. At the top right corner, you'll see a little chat icon. Please feel free to click there and submit your question in the chat anytime. We will answer it like at the very end of this session. Well, if there's something we can answer right away, we'll do that in the chat as well. Without further ado, I'll just start by talking about a little bit of the next slide. You're going to see there'll be three simple housekeeping things. And next slide, please. Yeah. So the first one is if you're not speaking, please kindly mute yourself because that will increase the audibility of the other participant. Second thing, you see the chat box at the top right corner of your screen. Please feel free to use that chat box and submit any question to us anytime. And most importantly, this webinar will be recorded, and please let us know if there is any concern. And the main purpose of the recording is that we will share this recording with the rest of the applicants, and therefore everyone will have the same amount of information and same access to all of this information. So let's go through the agenda. We will start by talking about an overview and recap and full proposal stage and grant detail preparation, and definitely at the end we're going to talk about the Q&A. And then the next slide we can start by talking about We4F South and Southeast Asia Hub overview. Next slide, please. So my name is Bess Rataksiri. I'm the Regional Innovation Hub Manager here at We4F South and Southeast Asia. We operate in 15 countries across South and Southeast Asia. So the main goal of us, as the name may tell, that we will increase food production sustainably by reducing the use of water and energy, or producing or processing food by using renewable energy. And we also target to support the people at the base of the pyramid, women and men in both rural and the urban area. We also provide technical assistance. So there are a couple of things that we do. The first thing is we provide a technical assistance to the awardees. And that includes anything from business model improvement to marketing to online marketing and even legal. We also do capital and mobilization, investment mobilization to the company organization. And definitely, we also work on enabling environment. So some company may have challenges in terms of legal or partnership. That'll be another support that we do. At the foundation level, we also work on gender, ESG, and supporting people at the base of the pyramid. So we have some startups, some innovators or organizations in our cohort who are now working with us on improving their gender smart practice and operation as well. And we also have Samista here who is leading the TA and also the gender activities at the hub. Definitely, it all comes to climate change and climate resilient development and biodiversity. So that's what we are targeting here and supporting at the hub as well. Now, talking a bit about the call for innovation itself, in the next slide, you can see that in this call for innovation, we plan to award 15 to 20 innovators, but that doesn't guarantee that everyone's going to get the grant. Some of them will get TA as well, which in fact, the technical assistant is the key support that we want to provide at the hub, and that's our key strength to support each of you. So in this support, this combination of grant, technical assistance, and investment facilitation support, it depends on the needs of you, and therefore, after this full application, we will start exploring how we can best support you at the end. In terms of the amount of the grant, it will range until between 25,000 to 200,000 USD in values, and then that's the rough number they were looking at, and the period of the operation of the performance will be ranging from the day that you award and no longer than 2 years after that. Our program will be ended in mid-2024, so definitely everything must be completed by that time. However, it doesn't mean that your project and your performance needs to be need to be in that time frame. The exact time frame will be determined again before the contract is awarded. And as you may have already seen online, this We4F South and Southeast Asia Hub is operated by a consortium of Tata Tech, Depth's work, and also definitely cross-boundary. So therefore, as the prime contractor, as the implementer of this program, the contract you're going to sign will be between your organization and Tata Tech company. So now that should give you rough ideas about We4F, South and Southeast Asia, and definitely the call for innovation. So now let's talk about the timeline. So in this, like as you may know and see in the solicitation, now we are in the full proposal stage. In this stage, you will submit more information to give us and the evaluator more information to assess your candidacy for the awards. The deadline will be on January the 7th. The deadline will be on January the 7th, and you will have about a month, almost a month to complete the full application, the full proposal. After the deadline on January the 7th, we will have the full proposal reviewed and evaluated by the regional advisory body, which consists of both internal and external experts in each field, from ESG to business to innovation, and so on and so forth. After the full proposal review, we will have the interview. So some of you will have the interview with us, and that will allow us to clarify some details that you may put in, but we have some questions for you. So we're going to clarify all of those questions that we both have. And then after that, in March, that will be the time that the pre-award that we have for pre-award bootcamp. So in March, you may have already, the one that will be awarded will be notified, and you will participate the pre-award bootcamp. And what we'll do during this pre-award bootcamp, we will walk you through all of the required documents, what you need to fill in. We will also work with you to develop the acceleration work plan, which will tell you like what we're going to do together, what will be the TA that we will receive, or what are the TAs that you require, and then we can work on that acceleration work plan together and finalize it prior to the award announcement in April. So basically, the key date will be January the 7th. That will be the deadline for this full proposal. Please submit everything by January the 7th by 5 p.m. Bangkok time. You will have the interview in February, the pre-award bootcamp in March, and the award will be announced by the end of April. So that's pretty much the timeline of this CFI, or Call for Innovation 2021. And I would love to give the floor to Sashmita, who is leading the technical assistant and also serving as the general advisor at the hub, to talk about the full proposal application. Sashmita, please.
Thank you, Wes. Hello, everyone. I'll take you through the full application in a little more detail. So to give you an overview, about 25 applicants, more or less, will be selected from this full application stage to the next interview stage. And in this full application, we require a little more in-depth information compared to the concept note stage, which we've already been through. Here, applicants will be asked to also submit a budget and how they and my colleague will explain a little more about the budget template and how you're supposed to fill it. We will also request you to provide references from the past performance. And in addition to the business and innovation explanations, we'd also request you to explain elaborately on ESG impacts that your model is creating or has the potential to create. The full applications, as mentioned, may I request everyone to mute their microphone? Thank you. So the full applications will be reviewed by a regional advisory board, which comprises of experienced professionals in the sector. And this document, the application you fill in, is their is their only source of understanding your business and your model. So so we'd request you to provide us with as much details as you can. Just to get into the questions right now. So on the left hand side, you see an example of a question, how it would appear in the full application stage. So in the concept note stage, the questions were just one direct question, whereas in the full application stage, you'll have like a primary question, but there'll be sub questions under that. And this has been done to help us standardize the kind of responses we get to a certain question. And it's also going to help you understand what kind of answers you're supposed to provide. So we'd recommend you to read through each of these sub questions and try to answer them as to the best extent possible. What these sub questions try to do is they break up the main question into certain important elements and components, which will help you understand what kind of details you need to either source within your organization or really need to think through and then respond to it. This is also something that will enable reviewers to understand your model and your business in more detail. So yeah, so this is an example we just wanted to share. The platform will be the same. You've already used it in the concept note. So the familiarity of the platform will be similar, but the format of the questions will be a little different. Here we also have another recommendation that might be helpful for you while answering these questions. Some of these sub questions may not apply to you or may not be relevant for your model, which is fine. And in some cases, they might be aspects that you haven't really worked on yet, which is also fine. What we'd request you to do is just clarify that this is an element that doesn't apply to you, or this is something you haven't worked on yet, but you are planning to, or if you have plans, share your plans there. Because what that does is it helps the reviewers understand that you have acknowledged the question and get more details around that. In addition to the sections that we have, which we'll go through in detail in the next slide, just wanted to mention something on the gender and BOP impacts. Since this program is one of the key objectives of this program is to focus on gender equality and impact on BOP populations. You can elaborate on the current initiatives mainstreamed within your business model, but in the absence of the current efforts, you can also tell us about the plans of integrating these dimensions going forward. May I request people to mute their, yeah, thank you. In the absence of any existing efforts, you can also talk about the plans you have going forward. This will help the reviewers assess the potential of the model in creating a positive impact on women and the BOP population. And just to give you a context, the technical assistance that is provided in the program will help you achieve these goals alongside other business advisory services. So it's not like you have to be really perfect in these. You just have to help us understand how you are thinking about these aspects. And when you put down your budgets in the template, you can also include components of your budget could also include funding for initiatives that are going towards enhancing this impact on gender and BOP populations. Next slide, please. So broadly, the evaluation criteria remains the same as the concept note. You have innovation, viability, commercial and financial viability, and then application and sustainability or ESG impacts that we will evaluate you on. Just to give you a little idea, so innovation viability will be majorly focused on the V4F relevant innovation. So as an organization, you might have more than one innovations, but this innovation viability section, primarily if you see the questions, they will be primarily focused on the innovation that you are applying for. Whereas the commercial and financial viability section would be broader. It would focus, of course, on the innovation, but also on the organization as a whole. And when you read through these questions, you will get a sense of how this is responding to the organization. And then the final section on ESG would look at both the organization, because there's a lot of initiatives or interventions you'd be doing or policies you might have in place as an organization. And then some of them might be very specifically relevant to the innovation. So just wanted to give this larger perspective to you while you're answering these questions. Now, I want to spend some time in contextualizing the impact on smallholder farmers and how the program sees it, so that it's easier for you to keep this in mind and answer during the full application stage. So you already understand that this program's key objective is sustainable food production, and farmers, especially smallholder farmers, are one of the key target beneficiaries of this program. So how do farmers fit within the value chain as end users and customers for this innovation, for the innovation that you are actually applying through this program for, would be important to understand. So our end user definition for this program would be focused or would pertain to the use of the V4F relevant innovation. So you have to see who's the end user with respect to this innovation. So the few models that, and I'll use a few examples to help you understand that. So during the concept note, we see there are three broad models emerging with the applicants. So one is where you directly sell your product or your service to the farmers, which could be, say, a solar dryer, a solar pump, or any other specific innovation. Now, in this case, it's quite clear that farmers are both your customers as well as end users. Then there could be a model where you are selling your product or service to the farmers, but not directly. You're doing it through distributors, through institutions, or through micro entrepreneurs. In this case, your farmers, again, are your end users. Your customers, maybe your direct customers are distributors, institutions, and micro entrepreneurs, but your farmers are, again, your end users. And then finally, there could be another model where your farmers or micro entrepreneurs are using the innovation, but then they are using the innovation to have like a new product, which could be like a processed food or a value addition to a certain commodity, which is being sold to, say, a retail client or a different business. In this case, if I bring back the first rule, which is end user is defined with respect to the V4F relevant innovation. Here, again, the farmers and the micro entrepreneurs are going to be your end users and customers, because they are the ones who are using the V4F relevant innovation. Now, in the third model, your retail clients and businesses are also your customers, but they are not your end users. Your end users of the V4F innovation are your farmers. So we'd like to kind of clarify this, because we see there the definitions of end users could differ for different organizations, and how you've seen it in maybe other programs, but we want to kind of clarify this for our program, and happy to answer questions around this later. So in all these cases, your farmers and micro entrepreneurs will be the end users, and therefore it's important to align how we see them as customers and end users. The jobs created in this program, and I'm going to talk about these targets a little bit in the next slide. The job created in this program would include all direct, full-time, and part-time positions that are being created by the V4F relevant innovation. So when I say positions, I say so because the same positions could be occupied by different people at different time. Like you might have two people join the same position during the course of the year, but the job would be based on the position. So it'll be one job. Yeah, moving on. In the concept note stage, we did ask you for preliminary targets, but in the full application stage, you'll get an opportunity to revise and revisit those targets and align them with the grant request you're making. So just wanted to go through some of these target numbers a little more in detail so that it's helpful for you to fill out the full application. You will find detailed instructions in the questions as well on SM Apply, but I just wanted to run you through these concepts broadly. So end users, the way the program defines end users, or the way we measure and monitor end users, is the number of households or farmers who are directly using the innovation multiplied by the average family size in the country. Now, the average family size would differ by country. To simplify this for you, we have used a certain assumption, and you'll find that in the SM Apply. So use the assumed multiplier and with your households, and then you'll have your end users for the program. Similarly, other individuals beyond farmers in the model, for example, like micro entrepreneurs who are using this innovation to provide a certain service to your farmers, could also be part of that end user list. So it doesn't necessarily have to be only farmers. It can also be micro entrepreneurs. Distributors and institutions who are selling your products but are not using them directly are not your end users. They could be included as customers, but when you mention these targets or you estimate these targets, we would recommend not to include them and just focus on the farmers and micro entrepreneurs. A target would also be around estimation of income increase, and I want to focus a little bit on this because this could be a little confusing. Now, income increase is supposed to be targeted at targeted towards the project period. Now, not all end users might see an income increase. So this target doesn't necessarily have to match the target above, which is number of end users. This could be a subset of the number of end users. For instance, you could say my program, my innovation will onboard 1,000 new end users. However, we are expecting to see an income increase for 500 of them within the program period because for various reasons, maybe 50% of your population will not see an income increase during the program period, or they might see an income increase much later, which is not accounted for during the program period. So it's not necessary that this is 100% match. Just want to give you that clarity. It could be in some models, it could be 100%, but in some models it may not be. So please be cognizant of that when you commit to the targets. So when you see the SM Apply platform, you'll see that we've requested for targets to be gender disaggregated. Basically for you to tell us how many of your end users you see are going to be men versus women. And your current end users, you may not have that data for, but going forward, based on your existing performance or an estimate of how many of your users are women, you could, we hope that you could give us these numbers. And these targets should be estimated for the program period of 2022 to 2024. And we want you to be realistic and estimate it as per your current plans and performance. Please look at the current numbers and commit to targets that you think you could achieve within these 2 years. Another important goal of the program is to understand the positive and negative impact of your innovation on climate and environment. So you will find that as a question in the ESG section. So please mention the details of the impact and what plans you have to mitigate the negative impacts primarily. Even if you are a clean energy solution business, there could be impacts, negative impacts of such solutions on the environment as well. So we'd like for you to acknowledge and elaborate on that. Similar to the BOP and gender impact, the technical assistance at the hub is going to help you and support as needed to implement any of the mitigation strategies that you might plan to address the negative impacts of your model. So that's fine. It's not to have a negative impact in itself is not a problem. We just want to think through how you're going. We just want to see how you're going to mitigate these impacts, or have you thought through it, and what kind of support we could provide as a result of as a result of the negative impacts you have or your model has on the environment. Similar to gender and BOP, your budgets could also include aspects of mitigation measures where you think you'd need a certain additional intervention to mitigate these negative impacts. Please do include that in your budgets also. We would strongly recommend you to go through this video, which has been shared by the Bureau Environmental Officer, which will take you in a little more detail on why we want you to elaborate on the environmental impacts of your model and how we see this and where how you can elaborate your responses. So it gives you a lot of clarity on the goal and objective, which will definitely help you contextualize your responses and add more details and elaboration there. Yeah, moving to very quick do's and don'ts. Now, in the do's, of course, one of the primary things that we request you to focus on is clarity and relevance. So please read all the questions carefully before responding, and then more importantly, review your answers before submission. It usually helps to have like peers in the organization or other people who have not filled out the responses to also give it a good read, so that you make sure you've not missed out on any important aspect of your business and that you would like to highlight during the application. Be precise in providing responses. We need adequate details, but we don't necessarily want you to have very long answers. It depends entirely on you. It just as long as the question is answered and the reviewers get a sense of what you are trying to communicate about your business, about the innovation, I think we are good. The full application needs a little clear explanation on what you will do as part of your expansion plan. You touched on some of these as part of the concept note, but in the full application, you'll have to share more details on how do you see your businesses expanding or growing. Clearly state how the application is related to at least two segments of the water, energy, and food nexus. And food definitely has to be one of the segments. And then who are your key customers and end users in the innovation? In some concept notes, we thought there wasn't enough clarity on this. So we'd request you to bring that clarity better in these applications, because the reviewers would be reading this and trying to understand the entire innovation in detail. So it's important that you elaborate this to the extent possible so that they find it easier to evaluate your application. And provide clarification on the commercial sustainability of the product and the model. And when I say commercial sustainability, I think it's not just a conventional idea of commercial sustainability, but just understanding how your businesses will sustain, or the model will sustain without any external support. Like it should be self-sufficient after the program. The program is definitely going to enable and facilitate a lot of that transition for your organizations or your models. But towards the end of the program, at least you should be on a clear path to having a very self-sustainable model. And focus, and when I say self-sustainability, the focus would be on end users' ability to access the innovation, because eventually that's the target segment and the impact that you're that you're trying to create. So focus on end users' ability to access the innovation and the plans to enhance this. The second bit would be elaboration. Explain clearly how the grant will contribute to the broader expansion plan. Elaborate on the strength of your partnerships. Focus on the political and regulatory context in which the innovation will be operating. You will have all these as questions. I'm just pointing these out as simple steps, but these you don't have to like really think through this very deeply, because these will be part of the questions. These are just guiding pointers, and provide specific details on the ESG sections. And the third bit to keep in mind would be to keep the budgets realistic, to keep the budget narrative realistic, and provide tangible evidence through numbers or data or evidence wherever you've collected that or wherever it's possible. Moving on. Next. Yeah, the don'ts would be don't provide like a broad overview. Don't tell us like these are the 3 options that you could try. Tell us what is the option you're going with and how you intend to implement it, even if a part of that is still at a planning stage. Do not provide unrealistic goals because this is your business, this is your model, these are your innovations, and you're committing to this. So you'd want it to be as realistic as possible. And the goal of this program is to scale up proven technologies and services. So try to think in your full application how you'd use this grant to and the support that is available through the program in addition to the grant to scale up that service or the product that you are providing. Do not forget to add relevant links and attachments that support your proposal. It'll strengthen your application. And most importantly, try to do this ahead in time. Don't leave the submission to the last minute, because there could be technical glitches. It could lead to errors of missing out on questions or sub-questions. So we'd request you to complete things ahead of time so that you have enough time to review everything. Yeah. Thank you so much. And I'd now pass it on to my colleague Mukesh to talk about the grant templates.
Shashmita, and good morning, good evening, all the participants. And once again, congratulations for making to this stage. Now we'll be talking about the grant budget template, and I'll take you through just to give a broader view of this, how you can prepare this grant budget. There will be in the template, it's attached here in the presentation, and you can just simply click on this and file this template. So there will be, you will be finding just 5 tabs, and we have tried to make this means user friendly as far as it was possible. So there are 5 tabs. On one is guidance on preparing budget. This will tell you like you just have to read it and understand that how you can make this. And second tab, which is a milestone cost details. This is the tab where action is required, where you will need to put in all your details. And to help you how you can fill up this milestone cost detail, we have put an example, milestone cost details example. You can just refer to this. And then there are budget summary. It is auto-filled. You don't need to fill any information in this budget summary in the milestone budget. So both are auto-filled based on this milestone cost details. Next slide, please. Thank you. So when you will be clicking on this first tab, on the guidance tab, you will be finding that these instructions written over here. So you can just go through these instructions, and I will talk about few of the instructions when we go through this template. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is the template where you need to fill in all the information. And you might observe that there are cells which are highlighted in gray. These are the cells where you need to put in the information. Like on the top, you can see description of the milestone. So you have to define this, the what are the cost details component of each here, like personnel cost, travel cost, supplies, consulting or service contract. So these all information you need to fill up here. And you will find some of the cells are password protected because they are like either they have the formulas or they contain, they are the template of the budget. So you will not be able to change those cells. Next slide, please. And this is, and you might also see that this template is made for 6 milestones. This is milestone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So even if you are proposing, let's say just milestone 3 and not 6. So what you have to do is please fill up the information for your relevant milestones and leave the rest as blank. Please do not delete the rest of milestones. Once you delete, then it will, what will happen is it will, this autofilled sheets will be impacted. So that is why please do not delete anything in this temp. And here is the example. Here we have prepared an example to help you fill up the information, like how the milestone is defined, what are the deliverables, what is the expected date of completion, and salaries, how you can put those number of days, amount, and then so, and this sheet is password protected because just an example. You don't need to make any, you don't need to insert any information here. So that is just for your reference. Ashwini, next slide, please. Thank you. And this is the budget summary. And this is a autofill, means you don't need to put in any information. The information which you put on this milestone cost detail tab will automatically appear here. So you can refer to these steps, review these steps once you complete your milestone cost details, which you have put in there on the second tab. So you can just have a look at this, review. Okay, the information which you have put in there is reflecting correctly here or not. And this sheet is password protected and you will not be able to make any changes in the sheet. And this is the last tab. It's a milestone budget because we are expecting these grants for under this project as a milestone based grants. So the milestone based budget will be auto filled when you complete this tab, where the only tab where your action is required, the milestone cost detail tab, that this sheet will also be automatically filled. And is, of course, it's a password protected, so you will not be able to make any changes to this sheet. Here, thank you. Here we'll be talking about some of the important guidance on the grant budget. Strongly recommend you to include details of your matching funding. Like what is the matching funding that you are planning to show as a contribution from your organization side for this grant. And matching funding, there is nothing that we can define. We have defined, it will be finalized on the case-to-case basis near the time of award. And if you have a question, what are the matching funds? Matching funds are the cash or non-cash resources of the prospective applicants that are used for financing of the project together with grant funding. Like for example, if the grant funding you are asking is $50,000 and you are proposing that out and 20,000 you are showing as your cost contribution, and total cost of project is 70,000. So this cost, this 20,000 which you are showing as post contribution or matching funding, this can be your own resources, can be funding from any other governmental or donor projects except the federal government projects. So this is about the matching funds, and please note these grant funds of these projects cannot be used for capital expenditure valued 5,000 or more per unit. $5,000 or more per unit means any capital expenditure that you propose under this project, under this grant, should be valued at less than $5,000 per unit. It can be 5 units. So it's fine. Like 4,000 times 5, $20,000 is fine. But one cost of one unit should be less than $5,000. And as a regulation, the grant funds cannot be used for purchase any equipment or item produced in People's Republic of China. However, because now there are so many even small components we are getting, which is like Chinese and which are readily available in the market. So grant funds can be used for purchase of equipment if the equipment is already available in the local market and not manufactured by the specific 5 organizations: Daiya, Hikvision, Huawei, Hitra, and ZTE, even though it is produced in People's Republic of China. I hope it is clear that what I'm saying, I'll repeat again, that grant funds may be used for purchase of equipment if those equipments are readily available in local market and not manufactured by any of these 5 manufacturers. And please, when you prepare this tab, the milestone cost detail tab, please provide the details and justification for each cost item in the budget note, that why the cost is necessary, for what period this is necessary, and what is the object. So this is the you have to provide as a budget narrative along with all the cost. So now we talk about what are the supporting documents you will be required to submit along with the full application. Your certificate of incorporation or business registration, where your business is incorporated or where it is registered, a copy of the certificate, in a, of course, a scanned form, and non-governmental entity certification. We have provided these templates here. You can just click on them on the right bottom. There you see 2 Word files, non-government entity certification. And it's a very simple one-liner declaration by your company. You don't have to take this certification from anywhere. It's just you have to give this on your company letterhead, certifying that your company is not owned or controlled in total or in part by any entity of government. That is the only declaration you have to provide on the letterhead of your organization, signed by authorized signatory. And then you have to provide a list of the key personnel, and please ensure that you are providing list of only the key personnel, and key personnel are those persons who have the access, control, and influence over the management and finance of the company. For example, it can be a managing director, it can be a program director, it can be CFO, it can be a project manager, whatever designation you call. If those people are having the access, control, and influence over the management and finances of the company. And detail grant budget along with the budget narrative, which we have just discussed. So I'll skip this one, and certification and representations. So these are the mandatory certifications and representations which every applicant has to provide. So you have on the right bottom, you have this template of these certifications and representations. These are the representations which are required as per the federal regulations, and every applicant without exception has to provide all these certifications. And last but not least, you have to provide the DUNS number and SAM registration number. So in case your organization have one, it's excellent. If your organization does not have one, you are I have provided the link here. You can just click on the link, and there is a very simple process to apply for DUNS and apply for SAM registration. So it is strongly recommended that you apply for them so that your application is considered. Thank you very much. And this is from me regarding the budget.
Thank you very much, Mukeshji, and thank you, Samista. So now it's time for the Q&A. Thank you for all participants who submitted the question via email and also the chat. Just once again, in case some of you may have just joined or may have just had some question for us, please feel free to send the question to us anytime with the chat function. We will respond as much as possible in this room. And if there's anything that we can respond afterward or we need to check, we will definitely do that and get back to you as soon as possible. So some of the pre-submitted questions that we have is, for example, like do you or us, we provide finance to develop the full proposal, like financial survey or something. So basically, like no additional in-depth survey or interview required these days. So basically, financial proposal is supposed to show your current activities and plans, and how do you plan to scale based on this current activities that you have really done, and therefore, like that should tell us a couple of years from now how do you plan to go. There will be some surveys moving forward. There'll be some interviews happen if you are selected as awardees, but that will be supported. That will be done after the award. So therefore, just to summarize, the cost for developing this full proposal will not be provided, and that's the main reason, as mentioned previously. The second question that we have is, could we adjust the committed indicator in the concept note? We can increase or decrease in this full proposal stage. The answer is definitely yes. So you can definitely adjust your committed indicator in this full proposal stage. Definitely the situation may change, and definitely you may have new partners, or you may have new activities coming up. So yeah, we definitely able to change the indicator and the target in this full proposal stage. We also strongly recommend you to carefully read the computations in the SM apply as well, because that will tell you how you can calculate the target. The next one would be about the grant. So what is the decision-making process to assess how much money the company or organization are eligible to receive? So basically, it depends on your expansion plans and like on your impact moving forward, like budget detail, the impacts, and the milestone that you plan to achieve. It's also note that the budget guidelines, as Mukesh has just mentioned, that there'll be something that you cannot spend on as well. So therefore, the decision process to justify the amount of the grant is based on your answers in this full proposal, and also the budget detail that you will need to submit. your ability to scale, your ability to create impact will definitely be two of the key elements that we look at. While how you're going to spend it, please also refer to the guideline. Where the money from, as you may have already seen on the website and everywhere, that this project is supported by multi-donors from the government of Germany, the European Union, the government of the Netherlands, Sweden, and definitely USAID. So the grant will be the money from all of these Thai donors. However, as I mentioned previously, that this grant agreement will be signed between your organization and Tech, who is the company who implement this project. All right, so now I think it's time for the live questions, and I may invite Samista and Mukesh to be on stage as well if there's any question that each of you can answer. I think the first question is about the contributions of this grant and the TA. Will this TA be in kind, or will that be will be included in the grant? So just to summarize like how it works, basically the award, like all awardees will receive in-kind technical assistance, meaning that it will not be charged to you. The technical assistance that we provide to awardees will be supported by all of the donors, and therefore they won't be charged to you. It's also good to know that only some of the awardees will receive grants, and that based on all of the criteria that you may see in the solicitation and also mentioned previously. It's also good to note that the grant will be milestone based, meaning that the grant will be disbursed based on the achieved impact or milestone as stated in the contract. So during the onboarding process, you will finalize your achievable target, you will finalize your milestone. And if you are among the awardees who receive grant, the grant amount will be then split up and attached to each milestone that you achieve. So that's the grant management process that we have at the hub. The second question would be on past performance. What does it refer to? So basically, it's any work or any activities that you do in the past with your organization that is in similar areas of support or area of technology or geography that you're working on. So this will help the evaluator know like how have you been operating and how can you create impact in the past, and therefore get a sense of how can you possibly create the similar impact moving forward. Yeah, I think the next one would be how the grant will be dispersed. The grant will be dispersed in USD and transfer to the company's account, and that will be part of the onboarding process that you will have to we have to align on how that will be transferred, which account of your company that will be transferred to. There'll be some cross check, so on and so forth. Now, looking at the time, I think in the last 5 minutes, I'll just go through quickly the question. I think we have one question about if the requested TA or support be included in the total amount of grant or additional. So I think it's also good to note, as mentioned, that a grant will be provided to only some of the application. However, the TA will be provided to all awardees. So if you are awarded, you will definitely get some TA, and that's free of charge. So therefore, the cost of the TA will not be included in the amount of grant. The grant will be tied purely with the target or the milestone that you achieve. If there is any limitations for project management, I think there's no clear limitations of the project management cost. However, it's really good to note that the main objective of this grant is to support your organization to scale and to support growth stage organization. So we would recommend you to prepare the budget that reflects your scalability and that based on your expansion plan or your milestone, your target that you plan to achieve going forward. I think last question that have one is on the contract. Can we share the draft contract at this stage? So I think basically the contract will be draft based on the exploration work plan, milestone, pre-award survey. So therefore, it will be drafted and shared to you during and after the pre-award process. And that includes, for example, during the boot camp and after the boot camp, that would be the time that the contract will be drafted. And as mentioned, that because it's related to the milestone, you will therefore finalize the milestone during the pre-award process. And then after the milestone is finalized, we would then start drafting the contract, and therefore it will be shared to you afterward. I think looking at the time, I think we may have time for one or two more questions. Will this recording be shared? Definitely this recording will be shared to you after this session. Would it be possible to possess equipment or, okay. How will you percentage matching fund or contribution? The matching fund or matching fund contribution will be finalized at the pre-award process. So basically, it will be a case-by-case basis. It will be the time of finalizing the grant award and a grant agreement. That will be the time that you will finalize the matching fund that you will contribute to this grant. All right, I think we have just 1 or 2 minutes left. And just to summarize about the key next steps that we will do and what you expect moving forward. The first thing that you will see is the recording of this session. We will share the recording of this session after this call. And we will also share all of the answers for all of these questions to each and every one of you who may be in this live session and someone who may have something else and can't make it to this session as well. So all of these questions will be submitted, will be shared to you afterward as well, so that everyone here will have the same amount of information for the full proposal stage. Still, if you have some challenge in terms of the technical challenge, for example, if you can't access Semi-apply or there are some situation on Semi-apply, please feel free to let us know and send email to we4fasiabit@tradetech.com anytime. We will get back to you as soon as possible. And of course, last but not least, the deadline of this full proposal will be on January the 7th at 5 p.m. Bangkok time, or GMT +7. So please submit your full proposal before that time so that we can start the evaluation process. And we are looking forward to reviewing your full proposal anytime by January the 7th next year. Thank you very much again, and congratulations for making it to this semi-finalist stage, and good luck for your full proposal. Thank you. Have